how to make good setting decisions to not only maximize your team's chances of scoring, but also how to exploit your opponent's weakness. Step number 1. The first thing you need to know is where your garbage man or garbage woman is. This is the hitter that no matter what set you give them, they will always do something good with the ball and are easy to set. They essentially take out the garbage, which is why I call this person the garbage man or woman. It's important to identify the garbage man for emergency situations, like when the pass is very far off the net, you can just throw it up to the garbage man. Step number 2, identify which hitter has been hot, meaning which player has been hitting well for the last 3 to 4 points. Sometimes when a player is in a good rhythm, you should set that player more often to get a few easy points in a row until the opponent starts to adjust. Step number 3, matchups. Look at who is blocking on the other side of the net and see which blockers are lined up with your hitters. The easiest way to evaluate a good matchup is by comparing height. Usually, taller players tend to be better blockers than shorter players. Although there are exceptions to that rule, it's generally true. A good matchup would be setting your tallest player against the opposing team's shortest blocker. A bad matchup would be setting your shortest player against the opposing team's tallest blocker. Another matchup is experience. If you know you have an inexperienced blocker on the other side that is lined up with a more experienced hitter on your side, let your experienced hitter take advantage of that inexperienced blocker by easily hitting around them, tooling them, and just simply outsmarting them. Another matchup to consider is speed. This is especially effective with middle blockers. If you have a very fast hitter who can transition, move laterally, and get off the floor quickly, and that hitter is lined up with a slow blocker, then set your quick hitter with a faster tempo or move them around to beat the slow opposing blocker with speed. Step 4. Now you can finally think about deception and a multi-point strategy. In general, you want to establish your middle quick attack early to force the opposing blocker to respect the quick attack. If the opposing middles don't jump with your middles, then they only need to focus on your left and right side hitters, which means they can put up a double block against them more often. Your goal is to get your hitters one-on-one as often as possible, which means setting up your hitters to hit only against one blocker. The best way to do that is to use your middle blocker to fake out the opposing middle blocker, which leaves your pin hitters against one block. This also opens up more opportunities like the setter dump because the other team is so focused on your middle. Another way to help isolate your hitters is by setting against the flow. This means when the ball is moving one direction, you should set the opposite direction because usually the opposing blockers will follow the direction of the ball. This will also create a further distance that the opposing middle blocker has to travel, which will make them late to close to the block. Having a multi-point strategy means knowing who you would like to set for the next 3 to 4 points. For example, on the first good pass, I'll set the middle and they get a kill, which catches the attention of the opposing blockers. Now the opposing middle has to jump with the middle, otherwise if you set them again, they can get an easy kill. So on the second point, I'm going to use the middle to fake the other middle blocker and then maybe set your outside hitter. So that leaves the outside hitter one-on-one. Then the third point, I might set that outside hitter again if I see the opposing middle jump with my middle, and that leaves that outside hitter another opportunity to score an easy kill against a single blocker. On the fourth point, the opposing middle probably has to pay attention to the middle and the outside because the outside hitter just got 2 points. So in that situation, I'm going to set behind me to my right side because the opposing middle will most likely have to cheat more toward the outside hitter. It's not always going to work out exactly as you plan, but it's good to think ahead and have a long-term strategy instead of just reacting to each point. But that's a much more advanced level of decision making, so make sure that you take care of steps 1 through 3 first before diving deep into step 4. In summary, we've covered 4 steps on how to make good setting decisions. The first step is to identify the garbage man. The second step is to identify your hot hitter. The third step is to identify good matchups. The fourth step is to be deceptive and/or have a multi-point strategy. Like I mentioned earlier, it can feel like a lot of information to process, but the more you practice your checklist, the easier and faster it becomes. Let me know in the comments below what skill you would like me to cover in future volleyball tutorial videos.